What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 22 My Team Career Mode. Now we're into the second race of Season 4, we're at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and this is one of my strongest tracks on the F1 calendar, and we have a very strong car at the moment. So the logical conclusion I can draw from this is that we want to and should win this race. I drive exceptionally well here usually. I've hacked it with 100 AI before on this track and not had too much difficulty. So all the signs here are pointing towards a win, but we got to do it to prove it, as they say. And yeah, it's not going to be an easy task by any stretch of the imagination. Last time out, we were in Bahrain, and after getting a win there last season, I wasn't able to repeat the feat this season. I could only scratch as good as fourth. After making my way up to second in the beginning of the race, I got kicked off the podium by some overtakes from Sainz and Perez later in the Grand Prix. However, we know that the performance of the car is slightly better, as evidenced by the fact that my teammate, Théo Pourchaire, started outside the top 10 and came home to finish P7, if I'm not mistaken. So he brought home 6 strong points for the team, I brought home 12, and we're currently sitting P2 in the Constructors after the first race of the season, and P4 and P7 in the Drivers, of course. So yeah, we're having a pretty good time. We're aiming for P3 in the Constructors over the course of the season. That's our sponsor bonus that we have to hit, and I'd say there's a pretty good chance of us doing it if Théo keeps banging in the performances that he performed last time round. Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, lots of corners, so it should suit our car quite well as well. We have the maxed out aero package, maxed out chassis package. The only thing that we are missing is the couple of engine upgrades, which should be on the car in time for the Australian Grand Prix. Théo Pourchaire came home in 6th in the practice session. I was a little bit further afield in 15th. I hope that this is just anomalous and that we can showcase a bit more pace, because the only one of the strongest 8 teams on the grid that I was faster than was Schwartzman. So yeah, I'm hoping I can improve a little bit from 15th in the qualifying session. Otherwise, I think we're going to be in a bit of trouble here. And yeah, we'll see what we're capable of doing come the qualifying session and the race session as they go on. No recommended upgrades for us to do. I actually can afford the ultimate fuel efficiency upgrade, but we don't have any room in our department to do 3 upgrades, because we don't have the fabrication level 3 upgrade. We can only do 2 parts at a time. I think even if we had level 2, actually, we'd still be able to do it, because I think you can do 3 at a time in that case. But yeah, we're gonna have to wait for these 2 parts, or at least one of these 2 parts, to get on the car before we can start developing the final engine part. And yeah, then we're going to work on our durability. We've got 3 more upgrades to do in that, and then we'll have a fully maxed out car. It's time for us now to get into qualifying. I got pole here last season, if I'm not mistaken, and then in previous seasons I've got P4 and P5. Even when I was running in a backmarker car, this track was abnormally strong for me. I never really put my finger on why, but I'm not about to sit here and complain that I'm too fast around a particular circuit. I'm just going to appreciate it and see what I'm capable of. First flying lap was on a fresh set of softs. I was a little bit blocked by Gasly, but it was still good enough for a 126.9. And that was the only run that I did in Q1. It's the only one I felt that I needed to do. You know, there's a clear top 8 teams, and then 3 that are very far afield of the rest. So my logic is that every single session I should be able to at least get into Q2 with only 1 set of tyres, and that means that we'll be able to save a set of tyres, a fresh set of softs for the start of every race. Not that you would usually use one in a Saudi Arabian Grand Prix anyway. There's not really enough sort of tyre life in the tyres that you bring to this race to be able to go on a set of softs in the race. They'd only last maybe sort of 6 or 7 laps, so they're not particularly useful. So the strategy is usually medium hard. I don't think I've ever done a set of softs here. We're now into Q2, and as you can see, we're on a used set of softs, and we do a 127.8, so significantly off the pace of our first flying lap in Q1. But once we put on a fresh set of softs, it's business as usual, and we managed to get ourselves into the 126s. It's 126.8. We actually went out a little bit early in this qualifying session. I forgot to run down the time and go out at a normal time, so that will be my last run of the session, and hopefully there isn't any quali glitch or anything like that. And yeah, fortunately we were able to make it through with a 126.8. We're in P5. Our teammate Théo Pourchaire is eliminated in P12, but it's not the end of the world. Perhaps he can make his way through up into the points-paying positions. You know, he's got some pretty strong drivers around him, but I have faith in his performance. You know, he's been pretty good in the first race, so I'm hoping that he can continue showing this level of driving that he's been showcasing in the first race. But you know, one race is not really enough to extrapolate performance from or anything like that. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see how he shakes out over the rest of the season. Used set of softs in our first flying lap of Q3, and it's good enough for a 127.4. So we're going to have to improve on that, no doubt, if we want to find ourselves further up the order. As we move through, you can see we're now in P5, so that's the minimum that we're going to get from this qualifying session. But we are 7/10 up as we come into the final sector. So yeah, I think we could be on for a good lap here. At the moment, we're probably staring down the barrel of about a 126.8, 126.7, something like that. And if we can improve out of the final corner, maybe we can make up another tenth or two. We'll have to wait and see. It's a very good corner, actually. We improved by a tenth, as I suggested we might. So we're 9/10 up. It's looking like it might be a 126.5, 126.6, something like that. We crossed the line. It's a 126.5, and it is good enough for pole position. So that's our 4th career pole, if I'm not mistaken. We had 2 last season and 1 the season before. So I think that's our 4th career pole. And yeah. As predicted, Saudi Arabia went exactly how I wanted it to so far. We start in the box seat for the Sunday Grand Prix, and now all we need to do is convert this pole into the win, and maybe we can get fastest lap and grab 26 points for our troubles as well. That's my target here, but there's going to be a lot of strong drivers behind us, including the Ferraris, Norris, both the Red Bulls as well, who will want to be taking as many points away from me as they possibly can. We extend the gap to Norris in the rivalry. Now we're in a stronger car. We're looking a little bit more pacey and racy with him. So yeah, that's nice to see. Pourchaire, unfortunate not to get through to Q3, but I don't think he made Q3 in Bahrain either, if I remember correctly, and he still managed to find his way into the points there. So once we get those engine power upgrades on the car, I think Pourchaire genuinely has the potential to be sort of, you know, challenging top 8, top 6 every single race. If he can get on top of the car, which yeah, I'm optimistic, like I said. But it's a long season and anything could happen. He could very easily lose focus if we don't attend to the needs of our driver. So yeah, we're going to have to just monitor him closely and see what we can do over the course of the season. And now it is time for us to get into the race.
So here we are then, welcoming you today to one of the jewels of the Arab world, Jeddah. One of the biggest cities in Saudi Arabia, second only to Riyadh, gateway to Mecca, and one of the biggest ports in the region. And now, host to the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. So let's take a look at the topographical map of the Jeddah Street Circuit. As you can see, a number of challenging corners for the drivers to master here. We'll see just how much the teams have benefited from their time spent in practice this weekend. And like many street circuits, this track has the potential to punish drivers that get it wrong. Let's hope we avoid any safety cars today. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Robinson lines up on pole position, and a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Perez, Leclerc, Lando Norris, and Verstappen, Russell, Ocon, Ricciardo, and Guan Yu Zhou, Fernando Alonso, Théo Pourchaire, Pierre Gasly, and Lundgaard, Schwartzman, Tsunoda, Oscar Piastri, and Lance Stroll, Mick Schumacher, Magnussen, Albon, and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. Ant, it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
After the points finished last race, let's aim to keep that momentum going.
Indeed. Let's hope to keep the momentum going and maybe improve on it slightly by getting the win here in Saudi Arabia for the second year in a row. If there's one track I'm not looking forward to the time when I'm going to take it off the calendar, it's Jeddah, so maybe I just won't. But I have been trying to do a rotation of as many tracks as I can. There's a pool of 24 tracks, so I figure why not take 2 different ones out every season, and we'll see what the best amalgamation is. But there's a few I'm going to keep in every year, like Britain and Belgium, for example. I can't see a world in which I take those out because they're just too iconic, you know? So let me know. Let me know what you think the 4 tracks that should appear in every season of this career mode is. Not that I think I'll necessarily do 10 seasons, but if I do, what would be the 4 that you'd want to keep in the most? Anyway, we now move into the start phase of the race. The lights come on. And the lights go out, and we get a pretty good start. We warmed up the tyres as expected. We get away well. Carlos Sainz perhaps doesn't start so well. I think he's being pressured by Perez into the first corner a little bit, and yeah, that is going to allow us to break away from these guys already. You can see I've already broken the DRS range to them, and yeah, my plan at this point was wholeheartedly, I'm just going to check out of this race, make the world's most boring F1 22 video I possibly could, cut the corner there because I can't keep the car going in a straight line, and yeah, just do everything I can to make this race as straightforward and simple as I possibly can. But for those of you who are about to click away because you're like, oh no, this race is going to be dull as fuck, don't worry, it doesn't happen. You just have to be patient, and these cars will come back at me. You see that Perez has already found his way back into DRS range because these cars are so much faster in a straight line. And while Jeddah does have a lot of corners, there's a lot of fast corners, which means you can keep it pinned and keep the accelerator at pretty much full throttle the entire time you're going, which has allowed Perez to basically make it back within sort of half a tenth of me already. You see, I'm pushing very flat out. I don't look in control of the car at all right now when I'm coming around some of these corners because I'm just trying to go as hard as I possibly can. I'm burning as much battery as I can, and yeah, I don't think I'm going to be dropping these guys over the course of the race. Our engine is just so inferior to these guys that I'm not breaking away from them as we come through the DRS zones. And Perez is actually attacking me into the final corner here, but I think we're going to hold him off, at least for the time being, but he will have the DRS again because I think I was ahead at the detection point. You see that there's a big train of cars here that's trying to get involved in this fight. You got Sainz, you got Norris, you got Leclerc all waiting in the wings. I think that's George Russell just behind Leclerc as well. So this is a strong fight here. Meanwhile, if you look a little bit further down on the minimap, you can see that Théo Pourchaire has already made his way up into P7. So he has had another fantastic start to this Grand Prix, much as he did in Bahrain. He managed to make his way up from P11 to P7 again, I think. So yeah, hopefully he can maintain that position, not lose out to the Alpines and the Mercedes of Zhou Guanyu. And yeah, hopefully we'll be seeing another double points finish for the team. Lap 8 now, we move a bit further forward, and this is Sergio Perez, who was closing me down. He has some kind of issue, and I think he's out of the Grand Prix, actually. So that's going to be devastating for both him and Red Bull. But I'm not going to be complaining too much. I don't know where Verstappen is, actually. I think he got eliminated in Q2 as well. Either that or he had some kind of incident at the start which kicked him down the order significantly. So, yeah, devastating for Red Bull, but fantastic news for us, who are currently looking like we're going to be challenging Red Bull for P3 throughout this season. We come under a little bit of pressure from Carlos Sainz there as he attacks us into the final corner, but we managed to hold around the, or up the inside, I should say. He tried to go around the outside, it's not going to happen, and well, with the DRS here, he was a lot faster, but we are going to try and dive back up the inside. If you remember back to that video I made a while ago now, it was the beginning of the year in Saudi Arabia. I can't remember the exact title of the video, but it was basically like, see how he held this position for 20 laps using one simple trick. And it looks like it's going to be a little bit of a repeat of Season 2 Saudi Arabia, because we do not have the pace to contend with these cars, much like we didn't when we qualified P4 in Saudi Arabia in Season 2. But I'm not gonna complain too much. We're just gonna see if we can get our head down and fight with all we've got, and you know, stretch our legs in the places where we are faster to hopefully keep them at bay in the places where we're not faster. We're going to be faster all the way through Sector 1 every single time. We've got the superior aero package. I'm not playing on a super high difficulty, so cornering is where these cars really are going to struggle compared to us, and you will see that in tracks no doubt like Monaco and Singapore and places. Oh, Singapore's actually not on the calendar this season, but Monaco especially is going to be a track where I actually think I have the potential to not only do quite well, but also to maybe even win, just off the basis of the difficulty level that we're currently playing on relative to my ability. We had a few extra pressures from Carlos Sainz there on a couple of occasions, but we managed to keep him behind for now. And on lap 13, we're going to come into the pits. We're going to need a quick stop here because these guys are right up my chuff. And if we have any kind of problem whatsoever, I think we're probably going to get jumped here. If it's even like, you know, if it's a 3.5 second stop, I think that could be enough to wreck it for us. We'll see what happens.
It looks like there's an issue with one of the front wheel removals. They'll be incredibly disappointed.
And I am incredibly disappointed. That is absolutely brutal. Sainz and Norris jumped me in the pit stop phase as a result of what's happened there. Fortunately, we do still come out ahead of Charles Leclerc, so we're going to be in P3 and on the podium. But if we want to win this race, we are going to have a big task ahead of us. This is Kevin Magnussen in his Aston Martin, which is funny because he's still got some Haas logos on his helmet, but we won't talk about that. And yeah, he I think is about to retire from the Grand Prix. There's the smoke billowing out of the back of his car. And yeah, probably the worst driver move on the entire grid so far has to go to Kevin Magnussen, moving from Haas, who were a midfield car last season, to Aston Martin, who were a backmarker car last season. I know they're both backmarkers this season, but yeah, there was a hell of a lot more chance of him scoring points in that Haas than there was in the Aston Martin. I don't know why he made that move, but now he's paying the price for it as we find ourselves on lap 17. And you see that I have kind of closed up a little bit to Norris and Sainz, but not massively, and we just lack too much pace in the straights to be able to keep up with these guys. You know, I'm having to burn a lot of my battery, and I'm going to need to hold on to some of it for when I actually want to overtake them. You know, it's called the overtake button for a reason. It's because you use it when you're overtaking. But I'm having to deploy a lot of it just to stay with them as we come through some of these straights. I'm going to have to hope, I think, that they battle one another, hold each other up, and then I'm going to have to see if I can find my way through doing that. It's pretty likely because the AI do like to battle one another in Jeddah. Not too dissimilar to what you see in real life, actually. I feel like we've had quite a lot of action in Jeddah in 2021 and 22, if I remember correctly. Obviously, there was that epic battle in 2022 between Ocon and Alonso. They were going wheel to wheel for what felt like about 10 laps. It was really exciting to see. Obviously, perhaps not such close racing between Verstappen and Hamilton, or at least you wouldn't want to see as quote-unquote close racing as they were doing on that occasion. Now we're on to lap 19. I think Norris has made a bit of a mistake there. He's lost DRS, but Sainz stayed ahead of him, which has allowed me to swoop around the outside at the first corner there, and we are back up into P2. He did not play that one very strategically. He was trying to go for the win. And yeah, in the end, he's kind of made himself look like a bit of a fool, which yeah, has allowed me to close up to him. And now Sainz without the DRS, I'm just going to try and breeze past him on the main straight, burning the battery, deploying the DRS, and we're going to do everything we can to take this place off of Carlos Sainz and move back into the lead of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix with only 5 laps to go. We might be able to hold on to this. We're going to have to do some defending from these guys, no doubt, but I think I have what it takes to close this out. Yeah, these guys are fast in the straights, but this is the sector where we shine, so we're going to have to try and move as far away from them as we can now to do what we can to hold them off a little bit later on. But I actually go a little bit sort of all over the place there. I go deep into one corner, and that messes up my line through the whole run. I have to get out of the throttle significantly, and that allows Carlos Sainz to pressure me into this hairpin. But we managed to keep him behind for now, and we're going to just try and move away. There's another corner here that we might be able to make a little bit of time up on these guys as we take it nice and smoothly. That's going to allow me to break away a little bit. But yeah, we're still under pressure as we move on to lap 22 now, and we're going to come under pressure from Carlos Sainz, no doubt, as we come into the final corner here. Turn 27, if I'm not mistaken. 27 corners, if you can believe it. A lot of them don't really feel like corners because you can take them flat out, but officially on the track listing there are 27 corners. So yeah, we now are just going to do everything we can to keep them at bay as we move on to lap 23. I think they're too busy fighting with one another to really get involved with me on this occasion as we move into turn 1. And indeed, they've held each other up a treat there. I've actually broken away from them out of the DRS range, and we're going to see if we can get a good sector 1 here to really stretch our legs in the end of this Grand Prix, see if we can check out for these final few laps and do what we can to hopefully consolidate P1 in this race. I need to do everything I can to just push as hard as I possibly can to hold on. The car is surprisingly difficult to drive in Season 4. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if it's just the max upgrades are making the car faster than I can handle, but I'm really struggling recently to optimize and maximize the pace in these few races. I feel like there's a lot more in the car, you know. My teammate is closer than they've ever been since they fixed the straight line speed problem. And yeah, I don't know if I'm getting too old for my reactions to process what the car is capable of doing. Let me know if you have similar issues once the car gets upgraded too much. You feel like you can't quite race with it as well as you were able to in the earlier seasons. But you know, we're not going to worry about that too much. We're going to move on and see what we can do. And yeah, it looked like Norris might have been able to pressure us into the final corner. We actually go a little bit wide there, which is going to compromise our exit here. And you can see Norris is closing us down at a rate of knots. He's going to have the DRS here. He's going to pull to the inside, but the line comes up just in time, and we cross the line to take the race win in Jeddah for the second year in a row. In the end, there was less than 1/10 of a second in it between me and Norris, but it doesn't matter the gap. It only matters who's in front, and on this occasion, it was me.
A sterling effort from the team and a magnificent drive to secure victory here at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
Welcome then to the podium, our top 3 drivers. What a great effort from them today in a very difficult race.
It does feel a little bit harsh of Anthony Davidson to say that the reason that we won is because I'm a fast driver and we have a fast car. Like, I did have to make 2 overtakes in the race, which I wasn't expecting because of that pit stop error. But you know, I was happy to do it. But it feels a little bit harsh to just be like, oh yeah, it's because they've got the fastest car and he was able to extract maximum pace out of it as a result of that. Like, you know, give me some credit, man.
So let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Robinson takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Well, after an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Fernando Alonso. Wherever he is, whatever team he's in, when is he not just brilliant? He'll give you a performance every time, just like he's done today.
Let's move on to the constructors. Ferrari continue to extend the gap at the top of the table. There was also a strong showing from the McLaren team today as they make their way up the standings. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula One.
Well, look at that. Théo Pourchaire unfortunately did have an issue in that race, but we have taken the lead of the Drivers' Championship after the first couple of races. Much like we were in the lead of the Drivers' Championship after 2 races last season, it is a long season ahead and we're going to have to get a lot more, at least a lot more podiums than we did last season. I think 4 race wins could be enough to win a championship in a normal season, but yeah, I definitely think that we're going to need a few more podiums because we were only on the podium maybe 2 or 3 more times after we had a strong season or a strong start to the season in the first 4 races or so in season 3. We are still in second in the Constructors' Championship, and yeah, I see no reason why if Pourchaire can bang in a few more strong performances, maybe not have the issues that he had in this race for whatever reason that he did, we might be able to find ourselves holding on to P2, maybe even challenging for the Constructors' Championship this season. That would be interesting if we were capable of doing that. I don't think that the second driver is quite strong enough, and I don't think I'm going to be able to bolster his pace quite enough using the personnel facilities to accommodate the pace that I would want him to have. You know, it was 6 million to do the pace upgrade for level 2, and I think it's 15 million to get the level 3 one. So that's going to be all season. We're going to have to be saving up for that basically if we want to get that given to him. But I mean, when the opportunity comes to renew some sponsors, I think we probably should try and maybe sign some different sponsors, ones that give targets for sort of race wins or at least podiums. I think, you know, we can be challenging for the podium with one of the cars at least every single race once we get those engine upgrades on the car. You know, the only thing that we're not going to have is that fuel efficiency upgrade. As far as what that means, I guess the only difference there is going to be that we'll have to put more fuel in the car, and perhaps that'll make the car a little bit heavier. But you know, I still see no reason why we wouldn't be able to challenge for race wins and podiums when we're only missing one fuel efficiency upgrade. And then once we get that on the car, we'll really be able to get stuck into the fight nice and proper for the remainder of the season, hopefully. Yeah, like I said, Pourchaire, unfortunate to have whatever issue he had. I think he must have had some kind of contact or maybe hit a wall or something like that, because he finished down in 14th. It looked like he had 2 stops, and maybe if he'd only had 1 stop, he would have been challenging in the points like he was last race. We moved further ahead of Norris in the rivalry, which is nice. I think 1 point separates me and Leclerc in the drivers at the moment. So yeah, it looks like it might be back to business as usual for Charles Leclerc after a season where he struggled to get on top of Norris all season, basically. I think he might truly be back this season. He already had a race win in the first race of the season. We get all of our bonuses for the sponsor targets, which is nice. I think, like I said, we might have to start pushing the boat out and try and get some better paying ones, especially that finishing with a higher points tally than the car ahead of you in the performance index, because we might be the best car soon. And yeah, I think that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.